So I guess tell me about your business that you're in right now, and what it's called, how you guys got started, that you went from, just starting it 2 years ago to now being profitable. Tell me about that story.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of created it as a side hustle while I was working at 𝐒𝐲𝐈 Advanced Manufacturing, and so it was time, and I went full time into it. It's called Advanced Additive Innovations is my company's name. And over that time that I was doing it as a side hustle, I just kept buying equipment. And most of what we were doing is I started on this mission, and I say this, but I know there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people out there who are doing the same thing. But the desktop equipment has become so good over the last couple of years, right? I mean, over the last, let's say, 5 years, there's been a real push on the desktop level machines. And now, because I'm, solely based in it, it bothers me when people call them toys, and some of them, I guess you could still say toys, but I mean, really, a machine is only as good as the operator that's got his hands on it, right? So if you have somebody experienced that knows how to do these things and knows how to look at materials and how to use a system. Now, the desktop machines today probably aren't as robust as the industrial equipment that's out there, but it doesn't mean you can't produce the same quality that you can get off of those systems. You just have to handle it differently. Mm-hmm. And that's what my mission was to take these lower cost desktop systems and be able to produce high-end products off of them. And it took me about a year to get to that level, but that's what we're doing, right? I mean, we're now AS 9003 qualified, we're ITAR, so now we're doing military and defense products. And then, as we were developing that, we ran into, because like I said earlier, I do a lot of problem solving. And so, I've been involved in the aerospace market for, about 20 years, somewhere around 20 years. And some of the customers that I've dealt with in those areas, we had some follow-up calls, some just get to know each other, hey, what are you doing now? And in those calls, they brought up one in particular problem that I worked on is they have printers of their own. So this kind of goes back to the whole dedication, experience, how you use a machine. They have printers of their own, and they were trying to print this particular part. It's a millimeter wave antenna. They were trying to print this, but they couldn't get it. There's a really small gap within this part. It's a 6,000ths gap at the base of an area. And that gap in photopolymer printing, that gap a lot of times will bridge over. So it's really hard to create two features with a gap in between on some of these systems with photopolymer resins, because the light doesn't know the difference. You're trying to define that difference, but it bleeds over, and a lot of times it'll bridge that gap. And that's the problem they were having, is they couldn't print that feature consistently. It kept bridging over. So, funny part of that story, he says to me, well, hey, Scott, if you can print this part, we'll buy it. I mean, we can't get it. We'll buy it. If you can print it, we'll buy it. And this was my entry point to military, aerospace, and defense, right? So I'm like, I got to make this happen. So he was able to send me a dumbed down file because it's all ITAR stuff. So I got a reduced file just to prove the concept. And I get this file on Friday afternoon, or let's say around 1 o'clock, something like that.
Sure.
And he said, all right, well, work on it. Let me know when you get it figured out. And, let's see what we can do from there. Saturday night, I sent him a picture of the part, and it was perfect. So, call it a little more than 24 hours. I ran probably 10 different versions, couple of different materials. At that point, I had 10 printers, so I could do all kinds of development. I just went all at it, right? All these printers, different materials. I did all these different things. And with it, a little over 24 hours, and I had the solution that they needed. And we now, I mean, I don't know exactly where this goes, but I have some educated guessing I can do. I'm pretty sure that antenna is flying now.